unashamed and unafraid, 'cause I believe you mean it when you say I am strong, beautiful, I am good enough.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we good. Well, we good. Well, we good. I'm going for it.
Blue has teleported you into the cartoon world. Your group will have to use your knowledge of cartoons to solve the clues and escape. If you fail to do so, you'll be stuck in the cartoon realm for eternity. Thursday, November 1st, from 6 to 9:30 p.m. Sign up now in the library.
shattered, holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back, holding on to what we have and take us to the edge and back.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Community Chapel. How are you guys doing? Great. The weather's nice out. It's not hot. We got a nice little breeze. So we want to welcome you guys. If you're in the Darby Lecture Hall, good morning to Community Chapel. We are so glad that you're here. Again, we have some guests. Where are our Royal Day friends? Where are you, Royal Days? Yes. Stand up for a second. Let's welcome these people. Say hello to them. We are so glad you guys are here with us. Welcome to Community Chapel. On days like this, we like to spotlight people from our community, faculty, staff, students, administrators. You're going to hear some stories today, some testimonies. You're going to hear a few things about our clubs and our community and connection teams. But we also like to have a little fun, okay? That's all right, right? It's okay to have some fun in chapel, though, yes? Okay, all right. Listen, I have tons of giveaways today. I've got some T-shirts. I've got some cups with some Woo swag in it for you guys. So listen, if you want it, I need you to show me that you want it, okay? How many of you want some free stuff today? Yes? Yes? All right, all right. Hey, last week was pretty great, yes? We had homecoming. We had the block party. We had a musical programming here on Saturday night. Our football team defeated Weber at homecoming. Let's give a shout out to that. Yes. Yes. You know, we've been trying to do some new things for you guys. We're so glad you all came out and had a great time. And we just want to keep that going. Listen, we don't have to stop celebrating 50 years because homecoming's over, all right? So we're going to keep this party going. After chapel today at lunchtime, we are going to have lunch out in the courtyard. The weather is nice. We're going to have some outdoor games out there. DJ Scoot back here is going to be on the ones and twos for a little bit. Yes, give him a hand, okay? So we want you guys to enjoy some more of that time today, that community time. But it's time to get things started a little bit, all right? We're gonna crank it up a little bit in chapel. Brian and Amaya, come on up. Come up here real quick for me, okay? Let's give them a hand. There's Amaya. Where's Brian? There he is. Okay, so how many of you guys went to the pep rally that Ripple hosted a little earlier this month? Yes? And you noticed there was a little bit of a dance-off, okay? And so Brian and a friend of his and Amaya and a friend of hers kind of went head-to-head. So I kind of asked them if they would come back and give us a little bit more. Because, to be honest, I think you need to prove yourself a little bit because, you know, yes, you are a great dancer. You probably was one of the best dancers on campus until old girl showed up. So we want to see if you can reclaim that. You think you can?
I ain't no bad person, no.
What about you? You think you can give it to Brian one more time?
I just want to say for everyone, just know dancing is not just hitting the folks and whoa.
Oh, all right. I'm going to move out the way, and I'm going to let them do their thing. Sir, ma'am, give it to him, Scoop. Why don't you guys stand up? Stand up. Let's get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Get up. Why don't you stand to your feet? Let's give it up for Brian and Amaya. Hold on, don't go nowhere. Come back, Brian. Come back. Come back. I'm going to give you this. Good job. Good job. Thank you, guys. Give him a hand. Give him a hand. Yes. Jesse, where are you? Come on up, Jesse. Did they do good? Yes? I don't know. Y'all a little quiet today. I might keep all these shirts for myself. Y'all not helping. Say good morning to Jesse. You going to read our scripture today? Here you go.
Thank you. All right, y'all. So I'm going to tell you guys my favorite verse, but in Spanish because it sounds better. Just saying. So, que el Dios de la esperanza los llenen de todas alegrías y paz a ustedes que creen en Él, para que rebosen de esperanza por el poder del Espíritu Santo. It's one of my favorite verses. My grandma's told me it, my mom's told me it, and it's a good verse. Thank you.
Give a hand. Okay. Why don't everybody stand up with me for a minute, all right? Stand up with me if you will. How many of you in the room have on your woo gear? How many got on some woo gear? I mean, you just wooed out. Where are you? I need to see your hand. We got some people with woo gear on today. Come up for me. You have it on? Yes? Come on up. Who else? Come on up. Come on up. Come on up. Come on. Who else? Come on up. Come on up. I can't see. Any more else? Micah, come on up here. You not? Come on. Yes. We got more? Okay. All righty. Now listen. Stand up here on the steps a little bit. Now, you guys, here's the thing. You guys need to read your email. We told you to wear some woo gear so that we can give out some giveaways. How do you think they did? Yes? Okay? Okay. I got some more stuff for you. Yes? All right. Let's give it, we're going to go by loudest cheer. All right? Who's got the most school spirit? All right, Michael, come on up. What about, let's give it up. That was okay. Go down that way. Come on. All right, what about right now? Okay, we're getting there. Oh, she got the pearls on. What about right now? Okay. Come on, Micah. Micah, I don't know. Micah? Okay. All right. Team chaplain, yes? Let's see. Does she have the most spirit? All righty. We're going to give you some woo swag. Here's a cup with some essentials and a homecoming t-shirt. Let's give it up one more time for them, all right? Yes. Go ahead, have a seat. But I got more shirts. There you go. All righty. One last thing while our guys are setting up. Where's your cell phones at? Get your cell phones out. We're almost done. Let's get our selfies on. My community, my Warner, stand up for a minute, take a picture with a few people, put it on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, whatever you need, and then we're going to go on to our next thing. My community, my Warner. Let's go. All right. So while you're doing that, let me get your attention a little bit. You know, we've talked this year a lot about my story and a lot of what we've been doing this semester in many different areas, whether it's been in our residence halls, in chapel, maybe in some smaller groups. You've heard faculty, staff, and student share their stories, their testimonies about how God has been working in their lives and changing their lives. And we're going to hear from a couple of people today. Alrighty, I'm going to ask Miss Carrie Greenwood and Miss Lynn Johnson, Dr. Lynn Johnson, to come up to the stage, okay? And they're going to share with you guys for a little bit. Give them a hand.
Hey y'all, as Rodney said, my name is Carrie Greenwood, and I'm a senior here, and I'm also an ag major, if you couldn't tell by the jeans, boots, and the hey y'all. So I'm here to tell my story. So my story starts out pretty normal. I had a really normal childhood. I had two parents who loved me very much. They push me and want to see me succeed in any way possible. They've been together almost 34 years. Kudos to them. I have an older brother that loves picking on me just as much as we love to hang out together. And I'm super blessed in the grandparent department. I have 4 grandparents who love me very, very much. And I was even more blessed because I got to meet 3 of my great-grandmothers. And I got to know one of them very, very well. I spent a lot of time with her. And she is probably the reason I am in the ag industry today. I grew up in a small Southern Baptist church, so that's still pretty normal. But what makes that unique to me is I'm what we call a womber. And some of you just looked at me like, what the heck is a womber? That means that I was in the church from the time I was in the womb. But not only am I a womber, my mom was also a womber. My grandma has attended that same little Southern Baptist church from a very young age. My grandparents got married there. My parents met there and got married there. Both my grandpas are deacons in the church. My mom runs the preschool department. My grandma plays the piano. My other grandma runs the kitchen and sings in the choir. So we were super involved in the church. So pretty much from the get-go, I heard the name of Jesus. I never remember a time not being in church. At 13, I accepted Christ as my Savior. I asked him to come save me. But that was just kind of fire insurance for me. That was just my ticket away from hell and into heaven. I never knew what impact that decision at 13 years old would have on my life today. 14 years old, a year later, I was at an FFA conference, and FFA was a big part of my life because agriculture was a big part of my life. And I was in Daytona Beach. I was hanging out freshman in high school with some friends and having a good time at this conference when we had reflection time. And this reflection time was about daily reminders in our life. So what we wanted to carry with us every day. Examples given that night were faith, hope, love, time, service, family, things like that, things we valued. So right there in that moment, God just spoke to me, and he's like, your youth group needs to hear this. So I went back home. I called my youth leader. She's a big mentor in my life. Called her up, and I said, hey, I got this lesson, and I really want to lead this Bible study. And she said, all right, come on. So there I am, 14 years old, freshman in high school, leading a youth service. And our youth group was pretty small, but it ranged in age from 6th grade to 12th grade. So what was different about that is there I am, 14 years old, leading my older brother and his friends in a Bible study, in a Bible lesson. And I didn't feel qualified at all. But God still met me right there at that FFA conference. And a year later, I accepted my call to ministry. So 15 years old, there I am. I accepted my call to the youth ministry. God didn't wait for me to be at a church conference or in the front row of my Baptist church. He met me where I was and led me into the ministry. 15 years old, life was good. You know, like I said, I had a really good childhood, a really normal childhood. I grew up playing sports and stuff like that. I was still playing softball at the time. Life was great. I continued doing good in school and everything. But around 16 or 17, life started getting really, really tough. I was never super popular in high school because I was always busy doing something else. I was on the softball field. I was at an FFA conference. I was at an FFA contest. I was at church doing something. I was with my family doing something. I never really made time for friends, and some of my friends got super jealous over that because I didn't make time for them. So they started kind of pushing me away, and as they started pushing away, I started pushing away. I become very cold-hearted and bitter. I become very antisocial, even though no one really knew it, because I laughed like everything was okay, even though I was super, super cold-hearted on the inside and was just really bitter on the inside. And by the end of my senior year, I was mentally, spiritually, and physically exhausted. I didn't have any strength left in me on my own strength. I don't really know how I made it through my senior year without dropping out of high school because I was never there. I was never present in class, mentally present. Had senioritis really bad, so bad that I ran across stage so quick when I grabbed my diploma, I actually ripped my gown. So if that tells you anything about what my high school experience was like and how like awkward I was in high school and everything else. So grabbed that diploma, said goodbye Hillsborough County, goodbye Durant High School, hello Warner. From home sitting right here. So couldn't wait to get out of Hillsborough County, even if I was just going to the next county over. Couldn't wait to start over. My freshman year, I said, you know what? I'm going to reinvent myself. No one really knows me here. I can reinvent myself, and no one would ever know the difference. So I was like, I'm going to be calm, cool, collected, everything I wasn't in high school. If you know me now, you know that I'm still none of the above. I am probably the most scatterbrained, crazy person you'll ever meet. I'm still really weird, too, so that's okay. As freshman year come to a close, I found myself in a relationship. He was my first kiss. I really thought he would be my last. I thought that was it. I thought that was the end-all, be-all. I was about to turn 19. I was like, man, found the one. He come from a good home, come from a good family. But God had other plans for me. It was a toxic relationship, not because we were bad people or doing bad things, but because that's where I found my worth. At the end of my freshman year, I was still seeking my identity. I was still looking for who I was. And I put so much of my worth into this relationship that it was unhealthy for me. And looking back now, I see that. So I got out of this toxic relationship. It come to an end. I'm still kind of dealing with the heartbreak of that first relationship. And I'm moving back home for the summer. So that was a really hard transition. Some of you can probably relate to that transition of moving back into mom and daddy's house. I hear, not that I didn't have any rules because I set rules for myself, but I really didn't have any rules. There was no one to tell me, be in bed by 10 o'clock, be home by 11:30, whatever. You have to be at family dinner tonight. There was none of that. So when I moved back into my house, it was a big transition because now I had rules. Now I had to be in bed by 10 o'clock, and I was 19 years old and thought I ruled the world and thought I was invincible. And I didn't want to be in bed by 10 o'clock or 11:30 or whatever curfew they had set that night. But I had to follow those rules. And so me and my dad started to have just absolute knockdown dragouts. Screaming matches across the house. Bless my saint of a mother for sitting in between us all those times. I was super independent, and I was fighting for that independence. And I'm his baby girl. He was still trying to control me. Everything kind of got turned upside down over this time. Our family would receive news that would absolutely wreck our world. So this is freshman going into sophomore year, kind of. Me and my dad are still having issues, and I really didn't understand what was going on at the time. None of us really did. Like I said, I was super, super close to my grandparents, and I still am. We would get news that my grandpa, one of the rocks of our family, my dad's dad, they live in front of us. The only thing separating us is a cow pasture, a small cow pasture at that. So we would get news that he would become violent towards my grandmother at night, and he tried to commit suicide. At that point, none of us really knew what to do. We were all kind of questioning, why is this happening to us? Why is this happening to him? He's the rock of our family. He was the rock of my dad and my brother's life, and they are the three strongest men that I know, mentally strong. They are so stubborn and hard-headed, but they, like I said, the rock of my family had just done something totally out of his character. He was never very violent. He was never aggressive in any way, so this was really confusing. The question on our mind was why? The answer, Alzheimer's. And We knew when we got the diagnosis that it was going to be a really, really long journey. And we didn't know how much time we had because each Alzheimer's case is different. Each Alzheimer's case, they act different. It absolutely wreaks havoc on their mind and on the souls of the patient's family. That is a battle we are still fighting today. Some days are better than others. Some days I get phone calls saying, hey, he got lost in the woods, or hey, he didn't remember to go do this or go to a doctor's appointment or whatever. And some days I get phone calls from him, and he wants just to know how I'm doing and how school's going. So every day's a little different in my life. I never know what to expect. So coming out of that, we kind of dealt with it as a family and finally had become a family unit. Me and my dad started taking it a little easier on each other and stopped having knockdown drag-outs. The relationship still wasn't good, but I come back to school, and life started to get better. I'd finally, things were returning to normal. And one day I was sitting in Dr. Babb's plant production class in Darby 101, the classroom with the big mural on the wall. And Mariah McCullers looked at me, and she said, "Are you ever happy anymore?" And that right there wrecked me. That was it. I was done. I was like, okay, God, I get it. I'm unhappy. I'm grumpy all the time. I am bitter. I'm still cold-hearted. I'm still exhausted. Right then in that moment, and I decided it was time to stop living like I was broken and start living like I was healed by the awesome power of Jesus Christ. So that was a big turning moment in my life when Mariah looked at me and said that. And life got really, really good. Life was great. I was doing better in school. I was happier. I was sinking into Scripture. I was praying a lot more. Me and God's relationship just grew, and it flourished through this time. As spring semester rolled around, got through it, did really well. I was working 2 jobs at the time, and nothing really scared me. I was ambitious, ready to take on the world. I landed my dream job down south on a ranch. I moved out of my house for the summer, moved down south, and got my absolute dream job. I was riding horses and working cows every day. I met some really great mentors in this time in my life, and I was just living life. Life was great. Life was fantastic. Junior year, I returned back to school, and I had taken on a few more tasks. I was a leader in all the ag organizations. I was working 2 jobs, 16 credit hours, but man, life was still great. Life was good. And then that next semester rolled around, and another bad relationship had kind of come my way. This time it was in the form of a friendship. And the reason it was bad is because I was pouring everything I had into this friendship. Once again, I had lost my identity in Christ and was trying to find it in a friendship. And I was pouring everything I had. And I don't know if you've ever tried to pour water out of an empty cup. It doesn't work too well. I was just really empty inside again, and I was trying to figure out why. But through this bad friendship, I learned a lot about unconditional love and what friendship really does look like. I was still exhausted. God was really using this refiner's fire to shape me, and I was able to look to God more and more through this time in my life because I knew he had healed me once and he could do it again. There were still bad days. There were bad days during this time where I was pretty much blacked out. People had to tell me, hey, they had to make sure that I was like doing my homework and like that I was okay and that I was attending classes, because I really don't remember a lot of these days through my spring semester of my junior year. And it was a really rough time. I was just really empty, really broken, and I was really confused as to why I was still feeling like this. My friends, they held me up during this time. I can't thank Miss Scarlett enough, and my friends that are over there in the ag program, they held me up every step of the way. People that I wasn't even really close to were like, hey, I'm praying for you. Hey, do you need me to do this? I was pouring myself into work. I was pouring myself into sin at the time. I was working 3 jobs. There were weeks I worked 55 hours and still somehow managed to make it to class. I'm not even sure how I managed that. It was only God was carrying me through that time. That's the only way I can describe it. But in a moment, again, God met me where I was. There was a moment over the summer, and it just kind of clicked. And it was just, I was in my bedroom one night, and I was getting ready for bed, and God's like, you know what? You're not broken anymore. I've healed you once again. It's time for you to get up and, start living life. And so the healing came. I should have gave God the reins a lot sooner. I should have let him take over my life and lead my life. I learned what unconditional love and friendship meant when my friends held me up, what it was like to give someone my all, and they walk away from me. God's like, hey, that's what it feels like when you walk away from me. When I give you my all and you keep walking away, that's what it feels like. Through those trials, I learned a lot. My family held me up. The journey that I've traveled, I've learned to love my story. I've learned to love my journey. And I just want to encourage you to journey on, but never, ever journey alone. God can be your best friend. He is just saying, weary sinner, come home. Tired child, come home to me. So I just want to encourage y'all to journey on, but never journey on alone. God can be your best friend. He's just waiting on you to come home.
Good morning. For those of you who do not know me, I'm Dr. Johnson, professor in the business department. Whoop, whoop to the business students. When I was asked today when I was asked to give my story to the faculty and staff, it was a little hard for me to agree to do that because my story might be a little different from some of your stories, but my story might also be similar to some of your stories. And so God, even at the age that I am, God still had to give me courage to be able to talk about my story because I feel that I have been dealing with accepting my own story for years. And so just to start out, most of you don't believe me when I say it, but I'm born and raised right here in Lake Wales. And I grew up not too far from here. I am the middle child of 5 kids. I was born to a mother who had a learning disability. And this was very hard growing up. I didn't know how hard it was until I got a little bit older, but life was hard because she had a learning disability. My father left my mother when I was still in diapers. She had just had me, and he left us. It was 3 of us at that time. Well, my mom went from one bad relationship to another bad relationship to another bad relationship to abusive relationships. And during this time, she had my 2 younger sisters, and things happened in our household that wasn't that great. When I was young, I grew up on a street called Lincoln Avenue right here in Lake Wales, and many of you don't know it. What it looks like today is an abandoned street, basically, a lot of abandoned buildings. It wasn't a great place to be on that street. There was a lot of drug dealers. There was a lot of people who were homeless, and I grew up on top of a grocery store. So you can imagine how small our apartment was on top of a grocery store. And so I grew up there. It was me and my siblings. And my mom was from New York. And my mom was very beautiful. I say that because, and I want you guys to understand that she was, to the eye, very beautiful. Long hair, beautiful skin. She was absolutely gorgeous. But her learning disability made her very vulnerable, and she became hooked on drugs. That was one of the reasons why she was in bad relationships. And basically, my brother, who was the oldest out of the 5 of us, ended up having to take care of me and my sisters. There's 4 girls, and he was the only boy, and thank God he was the oldest. But he ended up taking care of us. Imagine 5 young people having to take care of themselves because your mom is out on drugs, hanging around the wrong people. And so a lot of things happened in my life that were tragic, but I'm only going to share with you today one of the most tragic things that happened when I was around 5 years old. Again, my brother's taking care of me and my sisters. He was cooking dinner in our little small apartment, and my oldest sister wanted to take my younger sister, who was about a year to 2 years old, a bath. And she went to run some water in the tub. She went to run the water in the tub, and she left the water running. And when she came back, she cut the water off, and she put my sister in the tub. And my sister started screaming at the top of her lungs, screaming. And we just thought that, hey, well, maybe she just didn't want to take a bath. So my sister kept pushing her down in the water, not realizing my oldest sister, who also has a learning disability, put her in scalding hot water. And it burned the lower half of her body, legs, everything. And so it was an awful experience. And so I said I wasn't going to cry. It was an awful experience. And so somebody found out that, of course, my mom was not there. Someone found out, and they called the Department of Children and Families. And when they called the Department of Children and Families, one day this lady showed up at our house, and she came and she took all 5 of us from my mom. And can you imagine being 5 years old, being taken from the only place that you knew? And to make matters worse, they separated the 3 oldest kids from the 3 youngest kids. And so after all of that happened, we were in the system. We were in the foster care for about 1.5 to 2 years. God sent a blessing in my grandmother, who was my dad's mom, who came to get us. Well, when she came to get us, the state would not let her get my 2 younger sisters, so only 3 of us were allowed to go live with my grandmother. And my other 2 young sisters stayed in foster care, and they stayed in foster care for a long time. And this is how bad it was for them. I just found this out recently through my brother, that a long time ago they used to put kids' pictures up on TV. Would you like to adopt these beautiful children? And my sisters were 2 of those kids who were on TV asking to be adopted. And so, thank God, they were adopted into another home. But I did not see my sisters until I was 19 years old. So all those years I lived without my sisters. It was, life was not the best. Thank God for my grandmother. I finally went to church. Finally, I was in the choir. I did all these things. My grandmother took care of us. But I was so empty inside still. I had such a hard time with acceptance. I was very rebellious. I ran away so many times. I snuck out the house. I did everything under the sun. But God still kept me through all of those things. And my grandmother even had to ship me away to Georgia for a year, because she said, I can't deal with you anymore. And so when she finally let me come back, I think God just said, okay, Lynn, it's time for you to straighten up. I barely made it out of high school. And when I say barely, I barely made it out of high school. And so fast forward to my life, I met my husband. I've been with him, oh God, since I was 17 years old, and we have 3 beautiful children. I thought life was great. I had a good job. I was making good money. I was doing all of the things that I thought that God had wanted me to do, but I was still missing a lot of things in life. My heart just didn't feel like I was giving God my everything. I think I let outside things kind of take control, and I was wanting to look so good on the outside that on the inside I was still broken, because I could not understand why I went through the things that I went through in my past, not knowing at that point that even in my later years that God wanted my past to mean something to me first before it can mean something to anybody else next. And so I believe that God placed me here at Warner 8 years ago, not for me. Because I could be anywhere. I could be working at any job, and I could be doing anything, making a lot of money, and just happy with the world. I could be, but God placed me at Warner because of purpose. Not for me, but for the young people that I feel that I impact every day. Not just with teaching you, but just with allowing you to hear my story today. Because a lot of you are going through or have gone through or going through things right now in your life that you don't understand why you're going through them. Well, God always gets the glory out of our past because he wants us to use our past to enlighten somebody else, to encourage somebody else. There's a story in the Bible where Jesus met a demon-possessed man, and this demon-possessed man had been possessed for so many years. But Jesus commanded that the demons come out. But that's not the true significance of that story. It's what Jesus asked him to do. He told him, he said, go and tell somebody what Jesus did for you. And these my stories that President Holt came up with is not just to say, oh, we're hearing another my story. No, it's for you to tell your testimony. Just like God told the demon-possessed man to go out and tell somebody else who Jesus is. That's what this is. That is for you to see who Jesus is through our stories. And although I get choked up and I get sometimes nervous about telling my story, it's going to help somebody else. And so I just ask you today that if you have a story, don't be ashamed to tell it. You know how many years I've been ashamed to tell somebody that I grew up in the projects, that I used to walk around with no shirt and no shoes on? The fact that I haven't told anybody this, but even that I was molested as a young child. It's the first time I ever told that to you guys today. Oh, my God, that's because somebody needed to hear that, because somebody has gone through the same thing. God is somebody who can take your past and turn it into purpose. And that's my story.
Wasn't that awesome? Thank you, ladies, for doing that. I'm going to ask that representatives of our clubs come up real quick with me, please. If you are, yes, I see you. Come. Come up front. In addition to all the things that you do already, classes, your athletic teams, you guys may have a passion or a desire to be a part of something a little bit extra. These folks represent various clubs on our campus, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves real quick so that you can put a name with the face and find out what club they're a part of. And if you have some questions about their club, speak to these young people, okay? I do believe that they will also be out in the north lobby of the Regal Student Center doing our community cookout today. So make sure you stop by and say hi. We're going to start down here and pass it down. Your name and what club you're part of.
I'm Duncan Sekema. I am the president of FFA here at Warner.
Howdy, I'm Rowdy. And this is Cameron, and we are co-chairs for Collegiate Cattlemen, and we are advocates for the Florida cattle industry.
I'm Isaiah Lightsey. I'm part of the Rebuild ministry.
I'm Erica Cole, and I'm one of the dance leaders of Radical Dance Ministry.
This is my team, and we are the prayer team at Warner. If struggling and to really do something in your life. And so as we leave here today, we are going to be in Regal, and we are going to be praying for folks today. And so come out and join us for prayer, because God wants to do something in your life. And so y'all will see us around campus very soon doing some great things. And so let's glorify God today and come out for prayer.
I'm Chris Massey, and I'm the Student Spiritual Life Lead for Warner University.
Hey y'all, my name is Megan Meredith, and I am the president for the Collegiate Farm Bureau here at Warner. It's for agriculturalists and agricultural enthusiasts alike, and if you like food, you're enthusiastic about agriculture, so please come out and see us.
Hi everybody, my name is Jessica Tekdari, and I'm the vice president of the Black Student Union.
Hello guys, my name is Christian de Souza. I'm with Paula Ordones. I'm the president for the International Students Club. She's the director of activities, and our goal is to assist international students at Warner as they learn to adapt themselves to the U.S. culture, enrich classrooms with diversity, and reflect the grace of God in various forms through leadership and respect. She's going to say our vision statement, and I invite you to enroll to our club at our table in the Regional Center from 11 to 1.
Hello, our vision statement is to become a key facilitator for international students in culture adaptation and networking.
My name is Michael, and I'm happy to volunteer for Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Every Monday at 7:30 p.m., we discuss the Book of Romans, and the Book of Romans is awesome. We talk so much about, how to get saved and how to keep salvation and good stuff of that nature. So if you have any questions like that, come show up at 7:30. Anyone's invited. And we have snacks, pizzas, all kinds of good stuff. So there's no reason to come. Yeah.
Let's give them a hand again. In addition to these great people, we also have a group of students who take time out to get involved by helping plan the programming on our campus. If you're a community and connection lead along with Chris, I'm going to ask you to stand. Miss Lacey, Mr. James, thank you, Mr. Fleming. Jason over here, give these people a hand. They take time out to plan things like the Hollow Screen, the Last Night of Summer. We're going to go see the Bucks in a couple of weeks, and also Disney Springs soon. So if you see these people around and you have some ideas around campus, speak to them, get to know them, because they want to help serve you and help your experience here at Warner. Also, don't forget, tonight is the Haunted House Dorms. If you're going to come and be a part of that, I got a quick announcement for you. The shuttle will begin running from the Regal Student Center to the event and back at 6:30. So meet at the Regal parking lot. That's the lobby closest to the parking lot, which is the south lobby. We want you guys to be a part of that. Come out and enjoy it. And also, if you want to know what else is going on campus, check out our website. Click on the calendar so you can see all of the events that are coming up. We love you guys. We hope you have a great week. Get an extra donut as you leave if there's some left. God bless you, and we'll see you later.
This love that you never started, you once destroyed a broken heart that was already shattered. Holding on to what we have, you take us to the edge and back. Holding on to what we have, you take us to the edge and back.